Revealed, the miraculous journey of Dinah. Discover the incredible redemption of Jacob's daughter. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the lineage of Jacob and Leah found themselves in Canaan, traversing its rugged terrain beneath a sky charged with promise. Yet amid this divine inheritance, shadows loomed. Dinah, their only daughter, grew up amid tales of covenant and faithfulness, woven through the fabric of her family, each story steeped in divine encounters with the one true God. But those same tales filled her heart with a yearning for her own legacy, one that would rather not fade in the glare of her brother's exploits. One eventful day, ignited by an insatiable curiosity, Dinah ventured into the bustling city of Shechem, its walls strong and high, echoing the lives lived within. The marketplace pulsated with the vibrant sounds of trade. Rich fabrics, fragrant spices, and laughter mingled in a cacophony of life. Yet amidst the clamor, she felt the weight of her family's expectations pressing down, her voice often drowned out by stronger echoes. In that moment, she sought not just to observe, but to partake in a world beyond the whispers of her father's tents. Tragedy struck like a dark storm gathering ominously on the horizon. Shechem, the son of Hamor, chief of the Hivites, laid eyes upon her and seized her in a moment that shattered her innocence. That single act, born of lust and unbridled power, marked Dinah's destiny and cast a pall of shame over her family that seemed insurmountable. Her heart sank, ripping through the fabric of her spirit and igniting within her brothers an unquenchable fire of rage. Simeon and Levi, racked by the injustice done to their sister, crafted a plan swathed in deceit, demanding circumcision from Shechem and his kin, cloaking their revenge in the guise of covenant. The veil of their ruse led to a bloody reckoning, a tumult of vengeance unleashed, leaving the streets of Shechem stained red. They fought for her honor, yet in their fervor, Dinah grappled with the heavy cost of their wrath. The simplicity of justice unraveled in the complexity of human emotion, and she was left to question the righteousness of their actions. Even in the chaos, as bodies fell and screams echoed, Dinah felt a stirring deep within, a glimmer of resilience refusing to be extinguished. God had not abandoned her. She pondered the balance of justice and mercy, wondering if her family's actions overshadowed the grace she longed to experience. Had her brother's zealousness robbed her of the peace that could only be found in forgiveness? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history.
If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey. I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now, let's continue with what the Lord did next. In the aftermath of the bloodshed, Dinah emerged not merely as a victim, but as a witness to the flawed nature of honor rendered through violence. The narrative of her life began to unveil a deeper truth, the aching possibility of restoration and a redeemable future. God's grace lingered like a fragile thread interwoven in the tapestry of her tribulations, beckoning her towards a new destiny. Standing amid the ruins, Dinah felt the gentle nudging of divine promise, wondering if the echoes of her family's choices could call forth a new beginning. Would she rise from the ashes of turmoil, breaking the cycle of sorrow to embrace the woven story of healing and reconciliation that awaited her? Dinah's heart beat with a yearning for redemption, charged with the hope of God's unfailing love, as she pondered the future still unwritten, a path leading towards divine light amidst the shadows. And it came to pass after the turmoil that Jacob, their father, heard the words of his sons concerning the calamity that had befallen Dinah. What he heard stirred within him a storm of grief and deep concern, for the violence done in his house was not the way of the Lord. He sought to speak to his sons with words of wisdom, yet within him writhed the deep sorrow of a man caught in a web of his own flesh and blood. "My sons," Jacob called, "those whom we seek to honor and uphold shall not be redeemed by the sword. For have we not been taught to walk in the ways of our fathers? Is this the legacy we wish to leave for our children? The Lord has promised us lands beyond measure. Shall we then so easily tarnish our inheritance with bloodshed?" But beneath the weight of his father's words lay the unyielding anger of Simeon and Levi, who viewed their actions as just retribution. "Father," they replied, their voices resolute, "does justice not require a response? A sister's honor demands our wrath. We acted to defend what was ours. Yet Dinah herself, standing at the periphery of the gathering, felt the weight of their emotions crash within her. As they exchanged harsh words, she stepped forth, courage kindling within her heart like a fire upon the altar. "Brothers, must we contend through violence?" Her voice, though small, resonated like a clarion call amidst the chaos of her family's tumult. "I have known the depths of despair. The price of vengeance extracts a toll far greater than I can bear. Let us not allow our grief to swallow us whole." In that moment, the air grew still, as though creation itself paused to witness this unlikely plea for peace.
Jacob looked upon his daughter, sensing the divine wisdom that shone in her eyes. She bore not only the scars of her trials, but the light of new understanding. "You speak of a path that I nearly forsook, Dinah," he said, his voice trembling. "A path of healing that goes against the grain of human nature." And as he spoke, the heavens opened in that sacred moment. The Spirit of the Lord fell upon Dinah like rain upon the barren ground, her heart suddenly swelling with hope and clarity. As she closed her eyes, she envisioned a future painted by God's own hand, a legacy intertwined not with violence, but with forgiveness. "Let us seek the Lord's presence and walk together toward reconciliation," she declared, the boldness of her convictions silencing all but the sound of God's whispering promise. In their hearts ignited a flicker of doubt, and yet there was a stir of something deeper, the possibility of reconnecting with God's covenant grace, a true inheritance that beckoned them forward, out of the shadows of strife. Thus the family of Jacob found themselves poised at a pivotal crossroads, the fabric of their destiny teetering upon the edge of divine intervention. Even as they stepped cautiously toward unity, a tumult brewed in the distance, surrounding them with ambiguity, a journey fraught with uncertainty. What came next would either bind them to profound covenant or lead them further into despair, for the hand of God was at work, silently weaving a narrative of redemption through the choices they would soon have to face. The promise of restoration loomed, not just for Dinah, but for the entire lineage of Jacob, for God's plans were far greater than they could comprehend. Little did they know that the next chapter of their story would unveil mysteries previously veiled. A new covenant would be written amidst the ashes, and a pathway toward abiding hope was about to emerge. And it came to pass that as Jacob's family stood at the threshold of a pivotal moment, murmurs of unrest echoed in the distance. The sons of Jacob, having been roused by the fervor of their passions, grappled with the implications of Dinah's call for reconciliation. The air thickened with anticipation, and even the sky seemed to reflect their inner turmoil, a celestial canvas darkened by clouds, as if the heavens themselves awaited the family's next move. "Brothers," Dinah implored again, her voice rising above the clamor of emotions, "must we not rise up in unity instead of animosity? Should not our father's teachings guide us through this time? Was it not told among our people that blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God?" Simeon and Levi, still racked with indignation, exchanged glances filled with doubt. The honor of their family and the pain of their sister's violation weighed heavily upon them. "It is easy to speak of peace when one has not felt the sting of injustice," Simeon retorted, his heart a tempest. Yet as Dinah stood before them, her conviction bore the weight of divine authority. Jacob sensed the Spirit of God stirring amongst them. He recognized the battle raging in the hearts of his sons, and he felt the urgency of this moment pressing in upon him. "Listen to your sister," Jacob's voice boomed, amplifying the desperation of his spirit. "Let not our legacy be stained with blood. Vengeance is a path that leads to ruin. Our future rests upon our fidelity to God's promise. Reconciliation is the harmony of our calling." The family was drawn into a profound silence, and the emotions of fear, anger, and uncertainty simmered as they grappled with the call to unity. In that sacred stillness, the Spirit whispered a conviction into the depths of their souls. This was not merely a choice between violence and peace. It was a divine crossroads leading toward a covenantal restoration that reflected God's mercy. As they deliberated, the very earth trembled beneath their feet, a prophetic shadow casting forth wisdom from the past about the promise of their future.
To stand as brothers united in the face of adversity would forge a bond stronger than any sword. Then, as a sign of what was to come, a lone dove appeared, gliding gracefully between them, a symbol of peace sent forth from the Lord above. The sight of the gentle creature stirred within them hope that could not be contained, awakening memories of past promises. The same dove that had once signaled to Noah that the wrath of God had subsided and a new beginning was at hand. With the divine presence palpable among them, Dinah stepped forward once more, her heart now resolute. Let us pour out our grievances before the Lord and seek his face together. For it is not upon our actions of fury that we must depend, but on the grace of the Almighty who calls us his people. In that moment of vulnerability, Simeon and Levi felt the chains of their resentment begin to crack. "We have been blinded by rage," Levi confessed. His voice softened as the Spirit worked within him. "Forgive us, sister, for we sought vengeance rather than restoration." And as the brothers began to open their hearts, Jacob beheld his children standing together, trembling yet united. Hope surged through him, igniting a flicker that had long been dormant. God's presence wrapped around them, whispering sacred truths of healing and redemption. Though forgiveness was a tall mountain to climb, they stood on the cusp of transformation. Little did they know, the unfolding plan of the Almighty was weaving not just the fate of a fractured family, but the destiny of nations yet to be born from their loins. For from this tender reconciliation would spring forth a legacy marked not by strife, but by righteousness. Thus the echo of a new covenant was beginning to take shape, for within this moment of profound revelation, they had yet to uncover the greater mysteries God had prepared in his sovereign will.
And as they turned their gaze towards the horizon, a shadow crossed their path, a figure cloaked in mystery, poised to unveil the depth of divine purpose that awaited. And it came to pass that as the brothers stood in a circle, their hearts gradually thawing in the warmth of reconciliation, the shadow that had crossed their path began to take form. It was a figure, cloaked not just in fabric, but in an aura of solemn authority. It appeared as if sent directly from the heavens above. A stillness fell over the gathered family, for they sensed that the moment held significance beyond their understanding. The figure stepped closer, revealing a deep gaze that seemed to harbor the wisdom of ages. The countenance shone with a light that cut through the darkness of their turmoil, illuminating the crown of hope that had begun to bloom in their hearts. "Fear not, children of Israel," the figure spoke, his voice resonating with the thunder of mountains, yet gentle as the softest breeze. "I am a messenger sent from the Most High, charged to impart the will of the Lord regarding this very moment." Jacob, filled with reverence, took a step forward, sensing the divine gravity of this encounter. "What say you, O messenger of God? Our hearts have wrestled with anger and sorrow, but Dinah's plea has turned us towards a path of reconciliation. Speak to us, for we stand ready to heed the voice of the Almighty." The messenger nodded, the weight of his mission palpable. "The Lord has seen your anguish. He knows the plight that has befallen Dinah, and he is aware of the righteous anger that stirs within you, O Simeon and Levi. Yet the way forward is etched not in bloodshed, but in grace. God desires that you seek peace, for therein lies the strength to build that which has been torn down." Simeon, emboldened, yet trembling with the remnants of his fury, spoke, "How can we forgive that which is unforgivable? How can we rise above our suffering and lash out? Surely justice must be served." With a gaze that pierced deeply into his spirit, the messenger replied, "Would you have justice at the price of your souls? Nay, for the true justice of God is crafted upon the anvil of mercy, not the sword of vengeance. In the forgiveness you grant, a greater victory shall arise, not only for you, but for the generations that shall follow. This day shall mark a turning point that shall echo throughout the annals of history." The family's eyes shifted toward Dinah, her spirit glowing with newfound courage. "Let us embrace what we know of the Lord's heart," she urged, her voice steady now. "If we are to honor our covenant with God, we must embody his compassion. We must be vessels of his love." The messenger raised a hand, and with it came a rustling of leaves, as if the very creation had aligned to affirm Dinah's declaration. "Behold, the Lord will bless you with a new beginning from this day forth." As stars shine brightly in the night sky, so shall your legacy reflect the light of his goodness. For as you turn from wrath and embrace mercy, your days will multiply, and your descendants shall be as a multitude along the shores. And Jacob, sensing the tide of divine favor washing over them, clasped his hands. Then let us pour forth our hearts in prayer, asking for the strength to forgive, that we may walk in unity. As they knelt together upon the sacred ground, the heavens opened above, and a radiant light enveloped them, filling the air with an aroma of sweet promise. The turmoil within their hearts began to settle, and in its place, a profound peace began to take root. Yet as they prayed, the skies deepened in hue, and thunder rolled in a distance, reminding them that the battle was not yet over. For unbeknownst to them, the shadows still loomed, bearing witness to the next chapter of their journey. The messenger's final words hung in the air like incense. A new covenant is upon you, and from this day you shall witness the unfurling of God's great story. But remember, as they embrace redemption, darkness shall strive to shake their resolve. What lies ahead will test the very foundations of your faith. Stand steadfast, for the winds of change are upon you. And as they lifted their eyes unto the horizon, the understanding of their entwined destinies began to unfold, leaving them with a weighty truth. The path to salvation was not just for them, but for the world yet to be transformed by the grace woven into their narrative. And it came to pass that as the fervent prayers ascended like incense before the throne of God, the wind began to stir, caressing the earth with a gentle breath that spoke of renewal. In that sacred moment, the messenger raised his voice once more, commanding their rapt attention. Children of Israel, take heed, for just as the dawn breaks forth to dispel the night, so shall the light of the Lord's revelation shine upon you. As the echo of his words faded, the clouds parted, revealing a vibrant sky, painted with hues of gold and crimson. The atmosphere brimmed with expectancy, igniting a spark of courage in their hearts. Seek not only mercy, but also the dreams that the Lord has woven into the tapestry of your lives, the messenger instructed, his gaze piercing into the depths of their beings. For in your response to this moment lies the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. With hearts aflame with purpose, the brothers stood united, each contemplating the profound weight of their heritage. Reuben, the elder, declared, "Let us remember our forefathers, Abraham, who left his homeland, and Isaac, who carried the wood for his own sacrifice. They showed faith in the unseen and stood firm in the knowledge of God's covenant." Dinah, emboldened by the resolve of her family, added, "We must not let the past ensnare our future."
The Lord has called us to rise above our trials. He will transform our grief into testimony. A profound silence enveloped them as they considered the implications of her words. The messenger nodded in approval. The path before you will be filled with trials, yet it is through trials that character is forged. A heart tempered in the fires of affliction shall emerge stronger. Those who thirst for righteousness shall be filled. In that instant, they felt the pull of destiny tightening around them like a sacred seal. Levi, gripping his brother's shoulder, said fiercely, "We will declare our commitment to this new path. Together we shall honor Dinah, and in doing so we honor God's will for our lives. Let us forge a bond of unity." With renewed conviction, they each laid hands upon Dinah, praying fervently for her protection and strength. The winds shifted again, swirling in a dance of divine presence, enveloping them as they cried out for guidance and understanding. And suddenly, as if the heavens themselves split open, a voice resounded, echoing throughout the valley. "Your prayers are heard, and your sacrifices shall not go unnoticed. The Lord grants you a sign, a future filled with hope. As I delivered your ancestors from the hands of their oppressors, so shall I deliver you from your anguish." As the earth trembled slightly under their feet, each brother felt a divine stirring within. They turned, and in a vision they saw families, fields ripe for harvest, and children playing under the shade of great trees, whose roots reached deep into the ground. "Behold," the messenger proclaimed, "the Lord has heard the cries of his people and has set in motion a plan.
A remnant shall emerge from you, through whom blessings shall flow to the nations." In astonishment, they gazed upon Dinah, who stood at the center of their gathering, a beacon of hope and renewal. Her face, filled with radiance, shone like the first light of dawn breaking upon the earth. As the vision faded, the messenger looked upon them with fierce longing and whispered, "Each thread of your actions will weave the fabric of a legacy that shall echo through time. But remember this, the path of righteousness is fraught with peril. Stay vigilant, for the adversary prowls like a lion, seeking to devour. Enable your hearts with love, and let mercy guide your steps." With this, he began to withdraw, and as the shadows of dusk returned, the brothers stood in awe, their minds racing with the depths of revelation bestowed upon them. They resolved to guard their newly forged unity and the promise of a future yet tantalizingly out of reach. Yet within that moment, a deeper understanding dawned upon them. What they thought to be an end was merely a beginning.
And so they prepared themselves for the unfolding of God's divine narrative. Unbeknownst to them, another chapter awaited, steeped in challenges designed to test their newfound resolve and faith, leading them closer to the salvation meant for them and for a world yearning for redemption. And it came to pass, as twilight settled gently over the hills of Canaan, that the brothers lingered in contemplation. The air hung heavy with the weight of their recent revelations. Within each heart, uncertainty intertwined with hope, yet a fire ignited, urging them onward to fulfill the promise God had laid before them. "Let us travel to the land of our fathers," suggested Simeon, his voice steady and imbued with determination. "For in honoring the stories of our past, we may find the clarity needed for our future." He turned his gaze towards Dinah, whose spirit shone like a lamp in the darkness. "What say you, sister? Do you feel the pull of heritage in your heart as we do?" Dinah, emboldened by their unity, stood resolute. "The stories of Abraham and the covenant made with Jacob are not mere tales. They are living words that reside within us. Our destinies are intertwined with the legacy of our fathers. I too yearn to see the land from which we came, to embrace the purpose waiting for us there." With minds united by faith, they set forth, journeying through fields of golden grain, stepping cautiously along the well-worn paths that led to their ancestral land. Each step carried an echo of voices long left behind, stirring in their hearts the remembrance of covenant promises and divine assurances. As they walked, the messenger's warning lingered within them, "Stay vigilant." Darkness, unseen and cloaked in shadows, awaited the unguarded heart. Yet the bond of brotherhood wrapped around them like a shield, its strength fortified by their shared resolve. Soon they rested by a well, the water clear and inviting, emblematic of refreshment for the spirit. Here, Reuben took the opportunity to instill courage in his brothers. "We must not stray from our purpose, lest we allow fear to drown us. Remember the vision granted to us, a remnant that will bless the nations. Keep your eyes on the promise." As they shared bread and dipped it in oil, laughter rose among them, the sounds spilling over the well like living water. But even in joy, each brother sensed an undercurrent of unease, the unseen adversary stirring across the horizon. Then, as they lifted their eyes, a figure approached, an elder clad in humble garments, weary yet dignified. "Peace be unto you, children of Israel. I have searched for you, for I know of your quest, and I bear news great and fearsome." Intrigued yet cautious, the brothers gathered closer. "What tidings do you bring, elder?" The elder spoke, his voice like the rustling of leaves, filled with urgency. "It is said that the daughter of Jacob was lost, but fear not, for the Lord has preserved her. A day shall come when she will wield influence in a mighty way, and though trials will beset her, she shall be a vessel of redemption and strength to many." Dinah's heart quickened at the mention of her own name, a whisper of solemnity wrapping around her spirit. "But who is to become my adversary, and from where will these trials arise?" she asked, her voice a tremor of resolve. "Take heed," the elder warned. "The shadows you fear will manifest, but they cannot extinguish the light you carry within. Each challenge will forge your path, guiding you closer to the fulfillment of divine purpose." As the sunset cast a golden hue upon the scene, the brothers felt a mixture of trepidation and courage surging through them. They understood now that their journey was not merely a pursuit of family, but a reflection of a greater destiny, one that would intertwine their fates with the unfolding of God's sovereign plan. With renewed vigor, they prepared to continue their journey into the dusk, for their hearts brimmed with resolve to uncover the mysteries that awaited. In their unity lay the strength of a chosen line, a remnant crafted by divine hands. Yet as darkness encroached, a still small voice whispered through the night, reminding them that the greatest revelation was yet to unfold. And unbeknownst to them, a deeper truth lingered ahead, a truth that would test the very core of their faith and bind them closer to the heart of God's promises. And as they set forth into the gathering shadows, the elders' words echoed in their minds, a haunting melody intertwined with their hopes. They continued their journey as the stars began to dot the vast indigo sky, each one a reminder of the promises God had made to their forefathers, beckoning them towards the fulfillment of His divine purpose. Suddenly, a rustle in the thicket pulled their attention, and the brothers paused, hearts pounding with a mixture of anticipation and fear. From the shadows emerged a young man, clad in worn garments but with eyes bright like flames. "Men of Israel," he called out, urgency enveloping his voice. "Do not fear. I come not as an adversary, but as a guide on your path." Judah stepped forward, his brow furrowing in suspicion. "How do we know your intent is pure? Speak plainly, for our hearts are stirred with both hope and trepidation." The young man raised his hands in peaceful gesture. "I am called Eliab, a wanderer steeped in the knowledge of your people. I too am drawn by the call of your ancestry. The path you seek is fraught with shadows, yet I possess knowledge of the trials that await you. You must prepare your hearts, for the call of destiny looms near." Dinah, emboldened by his presence and the remembrance of the elder's words, quizzed him. "What trials do you speak of, and how will we prevail against forces unseen?" "The adversary comes in many forms," Eliab replied, his voice steady.
Jealousy, betrayal, and fear will rise against you as the tide, but you must remember, your unity is your strength. Each brother holds a piece of the covenant promise, and together you are a force unyielding. Dinah, your role is vital. You shall take a stand at the crossroads of events that will signal a great reckoning. Simeon's eyes narrowed. Realization dawned upon him. What say you regarding the daughter of Jacob? What role does she play in this unfolding plan? Eliab's gaze met Dinah's, and she felt an unspoken connection, a bond forged by fate itself. You are to be the voice of hope in times of despair, dear Dinah. In doubted lands and amongst feasting foes, you will declare the truth of your lineage and bring forth redemption in ways unseen. Take courage, for even in your greatest trials, God has prepared a way for you. And as Dinah absorbed his words, a fire ignited within her. She felt the Spirit stirring. It was as if the breath of God whispered directly to her soul, fortifying her resolve. "Let us remain firm, then," declared Reuben, his voice filled with conviction. "We shall journey onward with hearts aligned in purpose, fraternal bonds emboldened by the divine selection laid upon us." With renewed strength, the brothers pressed on, and Dinah felt the mantle of destiny resting upon her shoulders, urging her to rise above the uncertainties that lay ahead. They moved as a unit toward the vision of their future, the promise of their forefathers swimming in their minds. As they journeyed deeper into the valleys of Canaan's heart, a dark unease loomed, a reminder of the elders' warning. Yet beneath that dread, the light of faith shone brighter, illuminating the path set before them. But as twilight deepened, strange omens began to stir in the wind, portentous whispers dancing upon the leaves, beckoning them toward a confrontational destiny. And Dinah sensed that the truth would soon unravel, weaving the past and future into a tapestry of God's unyielding sovereignty. For it was not merely the journey of Dinah or the brothers that was at stake. The manifestation of God's plan awaited. Unbeknownst to them, the trials ahead would herald not just their individual destinies, but that of nations yet unformed. And so, the echo of impending truth lingered in the cool night air. Their greatest revelation was dawning, one that would bind their fates to the very heart of God's promises and illuminate the path towards unforeseen redemption. As the moon hung high and cast its silver light upon the land, a palpable tension enveloped the brothers, tight as the grip of a hunter ready to spring upon his prey. The evening seemed to breathe with them, the rustling leaves whispering secrets known only to the Creator. Eliab stood firm, a beacon amidst the shadows, his words forging a subtle kindling in their hearts, igniting a flame of courage. "Let us prepare our hearts, for tomorrow the trials shall come," Eliab urged. Seek the strength that lies within you, and remember the covenant made with your forefather Abraham." Judah nodded slowly, drawing upon the lineage they all revered. "We shall not falter. Our forefathers have faced countless trials, and we shall face this one as they did, with faith." Simeon, emboldened by his brother's resolve, then spoke, "But tell us, Eliab, what of the land we journey toward? Will it yield safety?" Eliab's gaze turned solemn. "The land is ripe, but it is also a ground of testing. You will meet not just the bounty of Canaan's harvest, but the bitterness of human hearts. Divisions shall arise, and the echo of your father Joseph's story will reverberate across these lands." At the mention of Joseph, a heavy silence fell. Dinah felt the weight of her brother's thoughts. Betrayal and reconciliation written upon their brother's life echoed poignantly in their hearts. She stepped forward, her spirit knowing the call to be a vessel for hope. "What wisdom may I speak that would bring healing?" she inquired, her voice steady despite the tempest brewing in her heart. "How can one voice lift the burden of countless sorrows?" "Be vigilant, Dinah," Eliab replied, his eyes flickering with intensity. "Your voice shall be like a prophetess in the wilderness. Speak truth not just to the men of your family, but to the nations that will come after. For in you lies the key to understanding pain and bringing forth compassion, a path toward redemption where others may only find chaos." Eliab's words resonated deep within her, and as the stars began to shimmer brighter in the night's embrace, Dinah felt the very essence of God stirring within, an ancient calling that transcended her fears. The brothers encircled Dinah as if shielding her from an unseen adversary. "With you we stand," Reuben declared, sword and spirit united under heaven's gaze. "We will not forsake this promise." Dinah raised her chin, emboldened by their solidarity. "Then let us move as one. Our heartbeats shall echo a symphony of faith through the trials that await." The night deepened, yet their hearts beat with an unwavering rhythm, a testament to their brotherhood and divine purpose. As the dawn began to break, a luminescent glow loomed on the horizon. They saw in the distance the silhouette of their destination, Canaan itself beckoning them, a crossroads of divine promise and human conflict. But beyond the beauty, shadows danced threateningly on the cliffs, reminding them that light often reveals darkness. Yet even then, in the waning moments before daybreak, a sense of assurance pervaded their hearts. "And though we walk through the valley of shadows," Dinah whispered, her voice steady, "we shall fear no evil, for the Lord guides our steps." But little did they know, the dawn would not bring mere challenges. The very fabric of their existence would be unspooled in ways they could not yet imagine. Their trials were merely the beginning of a greater unfolding, a tapestry woven by God's own hand, revealing destinies intertwined with the nations that awaited their witness. For Dinah's voice, once a whisper among them, would soon resonate across generations, serving as a beacon of hope into the vast unknown. The veil of darkness would give way to a divine revelation, and the unfolding of God's sovereign plan would cascade forth, unveiling the Redeemer who would ultimately bind all souls and nations to his heart. Would they be ready to meet such a moment? The answer lingered unspoken in the breath of God, hinting at the mercies yet concealed in the shadows of their journey. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the horizon, illuminating the rugged terrain before them, Eliab rallied his brothers. "Sons of Jacob, the moment is upon us. See how the light dances upon our path. It calls us forth into our destiny." The brothers, invigorated by the new day, exchanged glances filled with expectation. They had traversed trials before, yet none so significant as this. Each step toward Canaan became a pulse of hope, each beat resonating with the covenant God had stitched into the fabric of their lineage. "Let us offer thanks for his guidance," Judah proposed, his spirit aflame with anticipation. They formed a circle, hands clasped in unity, their hearts echoed in prayer. "O Lord, we seek your favor as we embark upon this new chapter. may your presence guide our hearts, dispelling fear and granting us wisdom." Their prayer floated heavenward, rising on the cool morning air, inviting the divine to envelop their preparation. As they concluded, a rustling erupted from the trees surrounding them. A figure emerged, cloaked in the garments of a traveler. "May peace be upon you," the stranger called, his voice rich and melodic. "I am Zimri, a sojourner from the cities near the Jordan. I've heard the murmurs of your journey and come to offer counsel." Eliab, wary yet curious, stepped forward. "What knowledge do you bring, stranger? Speak, that we may discern whether your words carry truth." Zimri's eyes glimmered, knowing the weight of their quest. "The lands ahead are filled with promise, yet they are fraught with peril. In Canaan you shall find tribes clinging fiercely to their ancestral lands, and their hearts are hardened against all outsiders. Yet fear not, for in your unity lies strength, and in compassion lies keys to their acceptance." Simeon raised an eyebrow, skepticism stirring within him. "And you believe mere words can soften the hearts of those who have known only conflict?" "Not mere words," Zimri replied, his tone unwavering, "but the true spirit of kindness woven into understanding and patience. Your family story carries the weight of betrayal and redemption. Let the saga of Joseph resonate and act as a bridge to healing, both for your past and for those who will be your future."
Dinah, inspired by the sojourner's message, took a breath that trembled with anticipation. "Then in this land of trials, let us lift our actions to speak more than our words. We shall weave a tapestry of grace that invites rather than repels." "Speak of compassion, dear sister," Reuben mused. "Yet I fear our presence may invoke fear rather than embrace. What should we expect of our reception?" As the sun climbed higher, its light reflecting on their faces, Zimri smiled knowingly. "Expect what you carry within. The spirit of reconciliation can move mountains. The clouds of animosity can be broken when kindness emerges beyond fear. Seek the stories of those you meet. Every heart holds its burdens. Each soul longs for healing. The very life of Joseph holds the answer. Sow seeds of grace, and reaping shall follow." With a renewed sense of purpose, the brothers nodded in agreement. They understood the task ahead would not be simple. It would require courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to expose their hearts. As they resumed their journey, Zimri lingered a moment longer, his gaze reflecting an understanding far deeper than mere corporeal sight, a foreknowledge aligned with the divine. "Remember this," he called. "The journey is not solely about what you shall accomplish, but who you shall become through it. For every step in faith shall carve a path to the destiny designed for you from the beginning." Thus they ventured forth, guided by the stranger's insight and emboldened by the fire of their ancestral heritage. Little did they know, the journey ahead would entwine their fates even more tightly with those of the nations that awaited in Canaan. Their eyes remained fixed on the distant hills, where God's own hand was preparing the stage for transformation yet unveiled. Soon their trials would echo through eternity, revealing not just a family reconciled, but the extraordinary fulfillment of God's sovereign plan, an inheritance brought forth by faith that would transcend generations to come. Would they embrace the unknown that lay ahead with steadfast hearts? The air crackled with divine promise, hinting at the unfolding revelation of his kingdom and the redemption that awaited on the horizon. And it came to pass that as the sun rose fully over the hills of Canaan, illuminating the paths ahead like the promises of God shining over his people, the brothers and Dinah gathered at the threshold of the land meant to be their inheritance. The air thrummed with expectation, each moment pregnant with the weight of destiny as they made their way deeper into the heart of the promised land, their hearts beating rhythmically with the song of covenant. "Let us embrace each encounter with humility," Reuben declared, his voice steady like the sturdy oaks that dotted the landscape. "May our actions reflect the spirit of unity poured out over us, and may we greet those we meet with kindness, that all may be transformed and redeemed by the God we serve."
With Dinah at their side, emboldened by their resolve and the reminder of Zimri's counsel, they approached a nearby village, its buildings humble yet vibrant with life. Children's laughter danced in the air, mingling with the songs of artisan workers bringing beauty to their trade. As they entered the village, an unmistakable silence greeted them. Eyes turned, drawn by their presence, curiosity mixed with caution hanging thickly in the air. "Fear not, children of Canaan," Dinah called, her voice ringing with clarity. "We come with open hands and hearts, seeking not conflict, but fellowship. We are the descendants of Jacob, once lost, but now found, carrying a tapestry woven with stories of pain and hope." One of the villagers, an elder wise with the wrinkles of experience, stepped forward, his gaze steady. "You bear the name of Jacob, child? We have heard tales of betrayal and honor, of a brother who rose from the shadows of despair to save his kin. What can you offer that will cleanse the stain of distrust that still lingers in the hearts of our people?" Dinah felt the stirring of the Spirit within her as she remembered her initial resolve to be a vessel of hope. "We bring not just the burdens of our past, but also the testimony of redemption. If Jacob can forgive those who cast him into darkness, if he can rise to bring salvation to those who turned their backs on him, then surely we can extend our hands in repentance for our own misdeeds and invite you into a new covenant of grace. Together, let us heal those wounds that still bind us." The villagers exchanged glances, their faces reflecting the spectrum of emotions, hopeful yet wary. The elder's gaze softened. "If you are willing to learn our stories as we learn yours, there may be a path toward mutual understanding. To listen is the first step to community, and if your heart aligns with kindness, then your names may yet find a place among us." With hearts beckoned toward kinship, the brothers and Dinah walked the village, embracing the stories of its people. They listened, laughed, and shared their own tales, revealing the scars of their journey and the grace bestowed upon them through forgiveness. The walls of mistrust began to crumble, as laughter and tears intertwined, a testament to the unbroken thread of humanity woven into their existences. Days turned to weeks as the bond deepened, and by the end of the season, the village flourished as unity blossomed. Dinah became a monument to hope and reconciliation, her spirit igniting flames of courage in those whose hearts bore the weight of shame and abandonment. They uncovered a deeper truth. Their stories, once filled with pain, could turn towards healing when wrapped in love. Yet all the while, the shadow of darkness loomed, for the adversary, lurking close by, watched with eyes filled with scheming malice, seeking to disrupt the glory of what God was doing among his people.
Sensing their unity would soon be tested, Eliab returned amidst a gathering storm, the winds pressing heavily against them. "Children of Israel," he spoke with urgency, his voice like the roar of thunder rolling in the distance. "Take heed, a great trial awaits you, for your journey has attracted the attention of foes who will seek to break your unity and extinguish the light that has begun to shine brightly among you." Dinah stood resolute, her heart charged with the conviction seasons past had birthed in her spirit. With prayer and faith, the strength to withstand any foe is found within us. As we have drawn together in this bond, we shall not break under pressure. We will honor God by facing our trials head-on, united as one body with one purpose. And thus they prepared themselves, girding their spirits in prayer and fellowship, awaiting the tempest ahead. In the shimmering light of the moon, they gathered under the vastness of the skies, clasping hands tightly, resonating in an outpouring of faith. As darkness settled upon the land, they held tight to the promise of God and the testimony he had woven through their lives. With Dinah's voice rising above, their hearts pulsed in unison, proclaiming, "We shall not let fear overshadow our faith, for with God we are a remnant destined to transform." And so it was that they steeped in prayer, ready to encounter shadows, knowing that every trial they faced would draw them closer to the heart of God's sovereign plan, rippling across generations yet to be born, forging paths of redemption and united strength as children of the covenant. Little did they know, the impending storm was not simply an obstacle, but a divine orchestration, a catalyst that would prepare them for the next chapter in their journey, one that would unfold in the fullness of God's glory, securing their legacy among the nations. As the night deepened, the stars bore witness to the resolve of Jacob's family, a constellation of faith illuminating the shadows, pointing toward a horizon filled with promise, about to be unearthed. The dawn of fulfillment drew near, a testament that their journey was far from over. It was just beginning, and the world would soon witness the power of God's redemptive plan in action, through Dinah and the sons of Jacob. Therefore, dear friends,
As we reflect upon this profound odyssey woven through sacred moments, let us be reminded of our calling to walk in unity, to seek the light amidst shadows, and to lift our voices toward truth. As we gather today, I invite you to join us in this journey of faith. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories of transformation and redemption. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm and encourage hearts across the world. Comment your spiritual reflections and how this incredible story of Dinah has impacted your faith. Your thoughts matter.
And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. Don't wait even one more second to spread this powerful testimony. Together, we can ensure that the stories of faith and redemption continue to resonate, bringing forth a harvest of souls for Christ and illuminating paths of hope in a world yearning for divine light.